Labor's interesting. They're a hugely diverse organisation. The one thing that they have that's very different to the Liberal Party is they have very strict discipline. So, people in the Labor Party might very much strongly disagree with what their leadership's doing, and they have their arguments behind closed doors. But when they come out in public, they all lock ranks and they show solidarity, and like that's one of their core beliefs. And if you
Mm.
break
You know
solidarity,
who
they
else? You know who
ostracize
else
you.
does that?
The
Well, I'm
socialist.
sure there's lots of other groups.
The
But
Communist
yeah.
Party of China is great like that
Yeah,
too.
yeah, yeah. They all do that. Yep.
Do you think the Liberal Party is hemorrhaging votes due, in large part, to the lack of empathy and tolerance for female dissenters within the party ranks? I'm talking specifically about the witch hunt against Moira Deeming and the lack of accountability you have demonstrated when dealing with female people in your own party.
Thank you, John. And of course, John, the costs for your case, for your defamation case to Moira Deeming were settled last week. That's $2.3 million. So this has been on the agenda, but there are clearly women who are disappointed with how you've dealt with it.
Yeah.
Before we hear his answer, David, do you find it as satisfying as I do to just watch him having to squirm through that question on a national broadcaster after losing his defamation case, after being smashed with a $2.3 million bill?
Well, I don't find any of this satisfying. I've got to be honest. I wish that it never went to that point. It's shocking to me that it ever got to court, and I wish that it had been dealt with differently right from the start. Because the issues that those women were talking about way back in 2023, and I was there at that protest, like I'm at most protests, and those issues that they were talking about never got a good airing in media. All that was talked about was, Nazis and this internal Liberal Party stuff. And I just think it was a massive wasted opportunity, and I'm really disappointed with everything that's happened ever since. So, yeah.
But surely after the way they dragged it through the mud for just attending to the same protest that you attended, and him being in the leadership position of the Liberal Party, acting like he's more powerful than thou, abusing his power in that case. Surely now you find it satisfying that he had to confront it straight up. I get it. None of it was satisfying from the beginning, but since what happened, come on. Rukshan definitely is loving it.
I don't think there's any winners here. I don't think there's any winners here. Like Moira, look, I'll declare my conflict here. I'm friends with Moira, and I'm actually a big fan of hers, and I share many, especially what she's doing on women's issues. I agree with her on many things and have fought many of the same issues. But nonetheless, I don't think that it's a good outcome that the whole focus of this is a member of parliament being potentially bankrupted by a defamation case that didn't really air these issues the way that they should have been aired. I'd rather people be talking about the actual policy issues and not this internal politics within the Liberal Party that, frankly, I don't think many people care about.
I agree with you, David, to an extent. Like Avi said, I do have a bit of satisfaction around this whole thing, but I'm coming more from the perspective of Victorians looking from the outside inwards in what happens there. And just the way that Moira Deeming, as a representative of women at the women's rally, was treated by her own leader, John Pursuta, who I think, she gave him plenty of opportunities throughout that entire time period, even almost before all this kind of court stuff really took off, to apologize, to even have a smaller payment, whatever it is. I think she gave plenty of opportunities, but he never took that opportunity. And I think as a leader, he could have been the bigger man in this instance and swallowed his pride and come to terms with the fact that
100%.
once you watch all the footage and you see all the evidence of everything, and I was there as well, I put in an affidavit for that with my live stream footage. I saw the whole thing take place. So for me, like, I knew all these were lies, and it's just complete nonsense watching these highly educated men. I think John Pursuit is a lawyer as well, going out. I think that makes it worse.
Lawyer.
Yeah, that makes it worse. His payment should be
Is he a
tripled.
defamation lawyer?
Apparently.
I believe so, yeah.
Well,
so he should be
Imagine
paying
hiring
five
that
times more.
flop.
That's why he's being charged more, I reckon. But,
no wonder why he became a politician, because he sucked at being a lawyer.
Yeah.
Look,
So
I mean, I've said at the time, what should have happened, what I would have liked to have seen happen is, maybe they could have said, well, this wasn't organized very well, and it's awful that these Nazi guys turned up. But the actual issues are real issues that we should be discussing, and they're X, Y, and Z. That's what I would have liked to have seen him do at the time. They didn't do that. They felt scared that the Labor Party was going to call them names. The Liberal Party's had this thing for years where as soon as they get a threat that the Labor Party's going to start calling them names, they just fold like a deck of cards and throw anyone under the bus that might cause them trouble. And in this case, it was Moira. I think it was disgusting the way that it all played out. I think it's terrible. But even worse than that, it sort of hindered this discussion of real issues that Moira was bringing up, and many of those women were bringing up that I think deserve airing, and they're real issues that are deserving of having a public, a sensible discussion about. And that was just thrown away. None of the media reported on that. No one wanted to talk about that. Everyone just wanted to talk about, Nazis and internal stuff in the Liberal Party. And I think that's a real shame.
But even this year, David, we were at the same rally this year, that women held a rally this year as well. Again, there's no one there from the Liberal Party whatsoever this time. They're probably terrified to turn up just in case of all the optics of it. So isn't that a problem with the whole Liberal Party movement, that, you have someone like yourself, a libertarian, you go to all types of different protests, based on your convictions and your issues, and you want to listen to people, even if you don't agree with them, you want to hear what they have to say. The Liberal Party in Victoria, and probably federally as well, when it comes to this particular issue with women and their rights, they don't want to even be near it. And the only one that really took a stand has been really Moira Deeming, who's really gone all in there, and then she got vilified for it. So now that conversation that you're talking about having about what's happening with women is not really happening in the Liberal Party, besides people like Moira bringing it up. Isn't that the case anyway? So it was never going to happen.
It's not happening in the Liberal Party at all. Moira is back in the Liberal Party now. She was talking about it when she was on the crossbench. I actually quite enjoyed working with her on the crossbench, but now that she's in the Liberal Party, I can't really do a lot. And, I'm just sort of doing my own thing, and it's not ideal. I think the view within the Liberal Party is that they want to talk about mainstream everyday issues and follow the polls of what people think are important. In my view, that's not leadership. In my view, leadership is about bringing people along and pointing out issues and making them mainstream.
Let's finish watching this just so you can help me unpack something that I think is very odd in this whole story on ABC.
Thank you for your question, Adeline, and I'm happy to address it. The issue over which I took action back in March 2023, and there is a bit of a background to this, so I hope you'll forgive me for addressing some of it.
It sounds like
was one that was understanding that there are divided views over how we mediate between competing rights when it comes to gender identity and equality before the law. My concern, which echoes some of the sentiments I expressed a few moments ago, was about, at the time, trying to position the party as a party that's broad-based. We just had 3 election losses, thumping election losses, and that's what I was trying to do. And whilst I was acting in good faith, Adeline, I do accept now, and I acknowledge that I could have handled that situation better. I was early in my leadership, no excuse, but I don't go by a day where I don't think about what I could have done differently or better. And I'm better for the reflection, not happy with the results, but I do accept that I could have handled things a bit better. But I want all of you to know, and in particular you, Adeline, to understand and hopefully at least appreciate that I was always trying in the best of faith to make sure the party can appeal broadly in the community. We keep losing. We keep losing people. And so I'm trying to bring them back to the party. I could have done that better, and I accept that.
Yeah.
But before I just, because that's not even the bit that it was what Dave Sharma kind of says next that threw me, and the fact that no one picked up on it, and ABC host didn't pick up on it. But even that, it's, if you watch the actual trial, that's a complete lie. He made it clear throughout the trial that the reason why he went so hard on her, or from his perspective at the time, was he was scared of what Dan Andrews was going to do with it. He was being led by the Labor Party. It had nothing to do about coming to the centre or bringing more people in. It was 100% because he was scared of Dan Andrews.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not the first time at all. Like, the fracking ban was a good one in the last term of Parliament. They brought up this fracking ban, which was already legislated. It was already Liberal Party policy to oppose fracking, but the Labor Party wanted to put it in the Constitution, which, you know, people have varying views on whether that's even constitutionally valid in Victoria. I don't think it is valid. But the Liberal Party supported it just because if they didn't support it, then Labor would be able to call them names and all this sort of stuff, even though their policy was against fracking. They do this all the time. You know, they look. We'll wait and see what happens with the new leader, but certainly they've been had a very weak point in when the Labor comes out and wants to call them names. They act very quickly to neutralise that through through means that would not be supported by their base, I would imagine.
Yeah, and like dirty tactics as well, like the whole Wikipedia thing, the fake dossier, the fact that they went to so much effort to create all this material and kind of, you know, help the media misinterpret it by the way that they put it all together, just shows you how nefarious the whole operation was.
Well, John has to pay $2.3 million. I mean, that's a court ruling. That's a lot of money. Should the Liberal Party be stumping up for that? Awkward question, but I need you to answer.
Well, look, it's not for me to say, but I'm not particularly comfortable with public figures and politicians and elected representatives suing one another for defamation. I think it can have a chilling effect on political debate. I think if you're hit with a cost order like John has been, that is, you know, life-altering. I mean, it's bankrupting in many respects. And public figures, public officials expect to get criticism in the media. I mean, you know, I don't know, there's probably hundreds of potential defamation actions I could launch against people.
Sure, but there was a particular comparison. I'm not going to, you know, it's been gone through the courts, but obviously Moira Deeming and her supporters, you know, were pretty outraged about that comparison. I mean, that's what that was about.
Yeah, but she had a public platform and access to all the media to air that outrage, and I think that's how public figures should behave. I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't propose to ever sue any other political figure, whatever they said about me, because I have an ability to respond. I have access to the media. I have a voice. If you do this, it becomes a test of sort of material means that you can silence someone else's opinion because of the weight of resources you can bring to bear on something. I find it uncomfortable.
Can I just make a quick point?
So, just before, I don't even need to listen to John Pesito again execute his position in the most gross way. I'm happy to watch it if you want to watch it. My point is, what Dave Sharma, the problem that I have with what he said there is that this wasn't just a difference of opinion. And the part that I'm shocked that the or am I shocked? The hypocritical ABC didn't bring up, especially after the comments from the previous woman on their panel, their lefty kind of take that the Liberal Party isn't giving women voices enough, they're silencing women and all that, is that there's a clear power balance. You guys go on about power balance of women. You had a power balance of the gang of men, but also the leader of the party kicking out this woman, demonizing her in the media. This was not like a fair fight where Moira could go out to the media. He's like, she had a platform. She could go to the media and defend. It's like she was painted as a kook, as a racist Nazi kook. That's how they painted her, and it was all coming from him. So there was no ability for her to fairly go out and prosecute her case. And the fact that the ABC sat there, if it was anyone else, if it happened on the left, if it happened in the Labor Party, if it happened in the Liberal Party to someone who was pushing a left-wing cause or idea, something that they perceive on their side, they would not have let Dave Sharma get away with that statement. The fact that you mentioned just now, Rukshan, Jeff Kennett was part of that pile-on. There was such an imbalance of power in where she sat that her only course of action was to go to the court and destroy him. Now he's sitting there with his head down in shame. And half of it is that he's in pain that he got caught and lost. He does not... If he didn't lose that case, he would have never regretted the way he handled it.
No.